Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. I'm a few minutes late because I had the broken Zoom link. Thank you, Corey, for sending me the link again.
No problem.
Yeah. So then, so how have been, everyone?
Been well.
We're doing fine.
Thank you. So then, as I'm trying to share a screen, I was told that I'm not host disabled attendees.
No, I fixed it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Thanks. Just 1 second. Let me share the screen. Do you see the screen now?
Yeah, we all see it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you once again. I think today is technically today is the last day of our class. And then first of all, I need to clarify something. Even though we were planning to have oral exams, and then I got all your contact information, and then as I was getting ready to call each and every one of you individually for the oral exams, then I was notified that all right.
I think you broke up there. I don't know if anybody heard you. I didn't. Your audio stopped.
Okay, maybe the unstable. Okay, let me repeat. So I was planning to have the oral exam individually, with each and every one of you, and then I had to cancel it. Instead, we're gonna only have the mock exam tomorrow. No oral exam.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so the mock exam is going to be the actual midterm test tomorrow. So I'm going to grade it so that and forget about the oral exam. We're never going to have that again for this coursework. So I think you got all the information about and the guidelines regarding the mock exam tomorrow, right? And then any questions? Do you have to ask me anything today before we start? So yeah, I think you stick to the sample questions I send you, right? So
yes.
Yeah, you only need to prepare yourself within the scope of those questions. That's the best I could say. And today we're going to talk about two topics that are like a prelude, like an introduction to the fundamentals of fundamental teachings of Buddhism. And first one is the one on the screen today, paramitas. And regardless of which Buddhist tradition you believe in, you practice, so you have learned, all the Buddhist traditions, if there's a fundamental teaching that all Buddhist traditions believe in, adhere to, is paramitas, so paramis. And then I just pulled this from the Encyclopedia of Buddhism, the description of paramita from the Encyclopedia of Buddhism, and this is an authentic source. And then Encyclopedia of Buddhism is widely used in the Buddhist academia the world over. So as you know, why I chose this is because number-wise, there are differences of opinion of the paramis when it comes to how many paramitas are there. Now, in general, according to Mahayana Buddhism, it's 6 paramitas. And according to Theravada, it's 10 paramitas. And it is the same 6. When you thoroughly examine the 6, it is the same 6 paramitas that are that becomes 10 in Theravada or Pali Buddhism. So that let's go through this short description of paramita according to Encyclopedia of Buddhism. See the paramita, Sanskrit, Pali, or parami, Pali. Yeah, that's another difference. Most of the time is parami that is used in Pali canon, and paramita, so that English translation, as you know, is perfection or transcendental perfection. Why this is, I specifically like transcendental perfection. It's because in our worldly life also, within the world, on the worldly level also, we talk about perfection. But in order to distinguish between perfection on the worldly level, we use it to transcendental perfection, just to say, or the transcendental level, because worldly level also widely use the term perfection, meaning even though according to Buddhist psychology, there's nothing called perfection, but in the conventional world, when someone is appearing before and asking you for comments on his dress or her dress, you say, okay, you look perfect. That's how you say. And you will say, okay, my life is perfect. And then you will say, okay, it's a perfect meal. It's a perfect book. It's a perfect appearance. And that's how we use the term perfect in your daily conversations. And in order to distinguish between such perfection that you talk about, you believe, you plan to achieve in your worldly life, as opposed to that, use the term transcendental perfection as a Buddhist term. Because even though the term as perfection there's nothing called perfection according to Buddhist philosophy, but again, when we use the term perfection, but perfection as the English translation, English cognate for Sanskrit paramita or Pali parami may not be perfect again. So in the context of the path of the Bodhisattva, the paramitas or paramis represent qualities that the Bodhisattva strives to perfect in order to purify and glaciers. Glacier is a
Monte, it sounds like you're having some internet issues. You're cutting out pretty bad.
Yeah, actually maybe because I live in North Carolina temple, because probably the internet connection is not as stable as the one in Texas. So I have turned off all my gadgets here so that it won't show any. When you get a little bit closer now. What about now? Hello? So
yeah, it's holding right now. I don't know if maybe you're just far away from the wireless access point or so, but yeah, it's hanging in there right now.
Okay. Can everyone excuse me for 1 minute? I'll run outside and ask the monk to use a different location in that case.
Sure.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, I'm shifting it here. Should be okay now.
කොහොමද උදේ පාන්දර ඔලුව රක් කරගන්න හොඳයිද වැඩි ඇහෙනවද මාව ඇහෙනවද ඔබට
Okay, I'm back. Okay, let me also, now I'm closer to router.
All right, let's hope that works.
Yeah, I got the permission from the head monk. I kicked him out. So he was using the office table here. Okay, sorry about that, apologies. And I'm also using my headset so that make sure that no sounds okay. So then whenever we talk about kleshas, perfection or paramitas in Buddhism, we understand it in terms of klesha. Klesha in klesha is a Sanskrit word. In Pali, it is kilesa, meaning defilements. Defilements. So, and then why this term kilesa is so important in understanding paramitas is, now what are kilesas? Kilesas are, defilements are in our effort to make ourselves happy. We need to so that satisfy our eyes with sounds, with images, sounds with our ears with sounds, nose with good smell, tongue, palate or tongue with taste, and skin with anything, coarse, tangible things. And then so as a result, every time we perceive the outside world with our sense faculties, and then so it leads to craving. If craving can give us, make us happy forever, and then so that at certain points we can stop so gathering, satisfying our sense faculties, but that's not the case. No matter how long, how far we satisfy our sense faculties, and we don't feel like enough. And we need to go after those things at times. So as a result, so that we get our mind overburdened with what is called kilesas, or defilements or cankers, so that when it comes to perfection or paramitas there is nothing called that we actually acquire or fill our mind with. What we actually do is that we empty our mind, we clear our mind, so that the more empty your mind is more perfect. And then you can also use the term emptiness at this point to understand paramitas or paramis. So that, and bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is specifically a Mahayana Buddhist term, and we also use that in Theravada texts. And bodhicitta, chitta, as you know, our mind, and the mind that is attached to bodhi or enlightenment. So bodhi is enlightenment. Remember, we discussed the word sattva or satta in Pali, sattva in Sanskrit, and satta in Pali in one of previous occasions, few occasions, I guess. So that sattva literally means attachment. And then, so we are sattvas. And you say in Pali, sabbe satta, bhavantu sukhitatta, may all beings be happy. And then, so that, and then bodhisattva, we are, sattva literally means attachment. And when you use the term sattva by itself, it means source of attachment, or our identity is attachment. Without attachment, we don't have any identity. Without attachment, we don't have survival. Without attachment, we are not there. And so that's what sattva means. And then, so that when your only attachment is to enlightenment, and at that point you become the bodhisattva, one who is attached to enlightenment. So that bodhisattvas. And then as a bodhisattva, as a normal sattva, as a satta or sattva on the worldly level, you always fill your mind with data. You are in the middle of filling your mind with new tendencies, hopes, dreams, expectations, and so on and so forth. Whereas that is on the worldly level as sattvas. Whereas on the transcendental level, or as bodhisattvas, we do the opposite. Instead of filling our mind with those things, we are in the middle of emptying our mind of all those things. That's the difference between normal sattva and bodhisattva. And that's what we do in meditation too. Because as worldly beings, ordinary people, what we do is we always grab something and put it inside our mind and filter it, make conclusions, assumptions. And then so we either accept it or reject it. And that's what we do all the time. Whereas when you go for meditation, in meditation you do the opposite. You instead of at that point in meditation, you are like a bodhisattva. Why I'm saying like a bodhisattva? You are a bodhisattva, I know, but so in meditation you tend to be like a bodhisattva. Why? While in meditation, you don't fill your mind with things. Whichever comes to your mind, you remove it from your mind. Even if it's a pleasant feeling, sweet feeling, you remove it from your mind. So that is emptying. And so that's emptiness. Probably, as we have discussed multiple times during our past coursework, that even though emptiness has a negative connotation in the English language, as a standard Buddhist technical term, emptiness has a positive connotation. And then it's so positive a connotation that emptiness is also identified with nirvana or salvation in Buddhism. And then perhaps the term emptiness becomes more meaningful to us when you understand that empty is a whole process. And as a Bodhisattva, you keep emptying your mind of feelings, sensations, tendencies, or whatever brings you dissatisfaction, despair, even if it's a good one. Because even good feelings can be a burden at certain points. In your effort to keep the good feelings forever, and then you get fed up with that. So as we talked about the terms dukkha and sukha in the past, on previous occasions, even finally it is the same universal outcome that we reach when it comes to the end point. So that dukkha leads to more dukkha, sukha, like dukkha, also leads to more dukkha. So that needless to say, sad feelings make us more sad, and happy feelings, how the happy feelings make us sad. Because so that happy feelings are the kind of feeling that we always expect to arise in our mind. So our dreams are always about the happiness, and then of happiness. And then when suppose you have achieved some happy feelings, the moment a happy feeling arises in your mind, and the next thing is you become anxious about that happy feeling. The next thing is you need to keep it like forever. When that happy feeling doesn't stay as you plan, as you wish, then again you end up in dukkha. So, and then again, no matter which type of feeling it is, no matter which type of sensation it is, the outcome, eventuality, outcome is that you end up in dukkha again. So that is why dukkha is considered a perennial problem. It is considered a universal problem that sentient beings face. And the only way out is that you empty your mind, and then so that as you that you keep emptying your mind of both happy and sad feelings, so sensations, expectations, dreams, etc., means you walk the Bodhisattva path. And that's why, and then that's what Buddha used the kilesa word here. Now, let's look at the etymology. Now, the term paramita, commonly translated as perfection, has two etymologies. The first derives from the word parama. Parama meaning highest, most distant, and hence chief, primary, most excellent. Hence the substantive can be rendered excellence or perfection. This reading is supported by the Madhyatana Vibhanga, where the 12 excellences, parama, are associated with the 10 perfections, and we don't need to go into that detail. And we will simply see the parami, the term parami or paramita. So the first etymology is from Donald Lopez's book. He's a scholar that I like very much, Donald Lopez. So that according to him, so the first definition of paramita is it comes from the Sanskrit Pali word parama. Param means, and then paramasacca, as opposed to sammutisacca. Parama artha. Parama is perfect, excellent, highest, best. Satya means truth. So at this point, his parami comes from parama. Probably it is because of in accordance with this first etymology, paramita translates as perfection. And let's look at the second one. Now say, and then a more creative yet widely reported etymology derives paramita into para and mita, with para meaning beyond. Now this is more like the Theravada in definition. We can draw align between the two etymologies, as first one being Mahayanist or the second one being Theravada. But actually, actually the second etymology is more Theravada. So what that implies is the first etymology is more Mahayanist. A more creative yet widely reported etymology derives paramita into para and mita, with para meaning beyond, the further bank, shore or boundary, and mita meaning that which has arrived, or ita meaning that which goes. So the prefix ita, paramita, then means that which has gone beyond, that which goes beyond, or transcendent. This reading is reflected in the Tibetan translation. I don't know how to pronounce that one, par or two, three. Maybe some of you have, the Tibetan background, so you are able to pronounce the word. Go on to the other side. Yeah, whichever the Tibetan term is, this is what we hear in Pali. That's exactly the Pali definition of Pali definition in English of the term parami or paramita. Go on to the other side. The other side at this point means nirvana, as opposed to this side, meaning we are on the samsaric side. And when you go to the side, nirvanic side, that is paramitas. So that which crosses you over to the other side, that which takes you to the other side, is parami or paramitas. And then let's look at the Sanskrit Mahayana tradition. The Sanskrit Mahayana point of view, the basic Oriental East Asian Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism. 6 paramitas. Once again, so Mahayana Buddhism mentions 6 paramitas, whereas the Theravada does 10 paramitas. Now, within the Mahayana tradition, the path of a Bodhisattva is described in terms of 6 paramitas. Dana, to cultivate the attitude of giving. Sila, paramita, refraining from harm. Number 3, Kshanti, paramita, the ability not to be perturbed by anything. And then Virya, paramita, to find joy in what is virtuous, positive, or wholesome. Number 5, Dhyana paramita, not to be distracted. Number 6, Prajna paramita, the perfect discrimination of phenomena. Now, and later on you will notice that when it comes to the Theravada list of paramitas that are 10 in numbers, it doesn't contain dhyana. It's actually the same thing, but is called by a different name. Now, so that note that this is also mentioned by Theravada commentator Dhammapala, who says it's equivalent to the list of 10 paramitas. In the context of the teachings of the 10 bhumis, 4 additional paramitas are added to the list of 6, so for a total of 10 paramitas. The 4 additional paramitas are upaya, panidhana, bala, dhyana. Now, once again, these are not the terms that we come across in popular Theravada Buddhism. There are other, so there are different. There are different terms. Now, even though it says that, let's say, according to the Theravada commentator Dhammapala is one of the Pali commentators. And then when we scroll down, and we will come across the popular Theravadin text. Even though Dhammapala is a Theravadin commentator, and then when you refer to other Theravadin texts, it's a totally different terminology, terms that you come across. And before that, once again, let's say, according to Tibetan tradition, paramitas are called transcendent action. as opposed to worldly action. Now, when I am hungry and I feel like I look for food, and then so that involves my mind, mental action or mentation. And I even happen to say I am hungry, that's my verbal action. And then actually then I look for food, I start cooking or I start grabbing some food, putting the food in my mouth, and that's a physical action. Now, whereas when it comes to the same hunger, when you transform that worldly action of feeling hungry, of course, is natural. Hunger, food for hunger, and when you are hungry, you need food. You need to satisfy your hunger, and that's pure. And bodhisattvas also get hungry, but it is the same action could be translated into worldly action, could be transformed into what is called transcendent action. That means, okay, a bodhisattva is hungry, and then he's looking for some food, and then he may even say verbally that he's hungry, but he doesn't get food. He doesn't get anything to eat, not even some water to drink to quench his thirst, not to substitute food, and then nothing else. And at that point, if it were an ordinary person, not a bodhisattva, he might end up in being angry, frustrated, depressed, so that screaming and all that, and he might fall apart with the world, and he would break up with the world because the world is not helping him, and then he must be angry with himself. Whereas when you transform, if let's say now if you are a bodhisattva, and then you may learn to, okay, hunger, this is not the first time I got hungry, but somehow today I didn't get anything to eat. And a bodhisattva would not even be concerned with his starvation at that point, and then he has a different perception of hunger. So that it is at that point his action, his hunger-related action is not a worldly action. It is a transcendent action. He had to bear up all the pain that arises from hunger. So that's what the paramitas are also transcendent action. So I like that term as well, because it helps us to understand paramitas in a wider sense. When we say that paramita means transcendent action, we mean it in the sense that actions or attributes are performed in a non-egocentric manner. Yeah, okay, that's again, it is the same thing but in a different way. Non-egocentric manner. Now, as we said, when I am hungry, and then so that I get angry, or I get frustrated, and why does that? Because I feel my ego threatened. Because when I am hungry, I need to eat. When I am thirsty, I need to eat. I need to drink. And so that I always start with I-ness, I amness, self-centered, ego. That's what egocentric manner is. Now, remember, we have been talking about constantly. We have been constantly using two terms, that subjective approach and the non-subjective approach, or the objective approach. And this, according to Satipatthana Sutta, according to the four foundations, discourse on the four foundations of mindfulness. And at that point, it is the same term that we apply here, non-egocentric manner. Or you are looking at when you use the non-subjective approach to your hunger, or meaning you use objective approach to hunger. Objective approach or non-subjective approach. And then so that you are not egocentric. And so that you don't call it my hunger, or I am hungry, my thirst, or I am thirsty. Instead, you separate, you disconnect hunger from yourself, and then you see hunger as a separate reality, a reality separate from your being, separate from your selfhood. So that there is this disconnection, and as ordinary people, we would find it extremely difficult to digest that, to understand that. But perhaps you have already experienced that, because as in your spiritual practice, you are so motivated to so you are motivated to move forward in your along your spiritual path, probably in a retreat, or probably because you are when you start feeling hungry at the time you are thinking about when you are living in a spiritual mode. Perhaps you might have told yourself, because, well, I am hungry. Okay, of course, every time I was hungry in the past, I would eat. And then right now, probably I have to wait until I get food. Probably you need to delay. And then you have to wait for a couple of, either because you are in the middle of something, or because you are in a retreat, or maybe your food hasn't arrived yet. And then for sure you can eat later on. And probably it's your own experience that you could successfully cope with your hunger, and then so that you could very easily stay a few more hours in comfort until you got the food. Perhaps if you are motivated, if you could basically make up your mind, well, forget about it, because I always eat, so that maybe I will eat later. And then you can always replace your need for your need to satisfy your hunger with something else that motivates you. And maybe when you graduated, probably when you go back to personal history, and perhaps the day you graduated from college or university, and you never wanted to eat anything because you feel so filled, you felt so full, you never wanted to eat anything. Probably you made some connections in your life, maybe romantic connection in your life, and that moment you were so happy that you never wanted to eat. You are not feeling hungry at all, even though you were before, a moment before, but because you're motivated. That's the motivation factor. Motivation can replace anything negative, but along the Bodhisattva path, it is a spiritual motivation that you tell yourself that you what has happened to yourself in the past is you have fallen back in the same pattern of complaining, same pattern of asking for more, looking into more, running after more things, complaining, and that is the pattern that we fall back in. And at that point, okay, no, this time I won't fall back in the same typical pattern of complaining or expecting more, running after things, and then finding fault with others, etc., etc. So today I will be silent and I will take a different direction. And that is called the transcendental action, so that your egocentric nature disappears. So transcendental does not refer to some external reality, but rather to the way in which we conduct our lives and perceive the world, either in an egocentric or a non-egocentric way. The 6 paramitas are concerned with the effort to step out of the egocentric mentality. Now again, that is the egocentric mentality according to Tibetan description of paramitas or transcendental action. So again, it is according to the Pali text, it is that non-subjective approach, non-subjective perception of your worldly existence. Any questions, my friend? So in the Vajrayana context, according to the perspective, the Vajrayana path of Tibetan Buddhism, Mahayana practitioners can choose between two practice paths, path of practice. The path of the paramita, Sanskrit paramitayana, or the path of Tantra, Sanskrit Tantrayana, which is the Vajrayana. Now, we can easily skip that, Tantrayana, and then so that, and you may have seen that in any religion would have two levels or two aspects of practice. So the meditative aspect, meditative practice and ritualistic practice, two different practices. And then you can understand the distinction of paramita practice in Tibetan Buddhism in light of those two general universal aspects of religious practice. And then, so the meditative practice is like the, here the path of paramitas, and Tantra is more like ritualistic. That's a ritualistic practice. So, and now let's go to the paramitas in Pali Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism. In the Theravada tradition, the path of the Bodhisattvas is described in terms of 10 paramis, Pali. Again, are we coming to the same one? Oh yeah, Dana Parami, generosity, giving of oneself. Sila Parami, virtue, morality, proper conduct. Nekkhamma Parami, renunciation. Panya Parami, prajna in Sanskrit, transcendental wisdom, insight. Virya, also spelled virya, parami, energy, diligence, vigor, effort. Kunti parami, patience, tolerance, forbearance, acceptance, endurance. 7, Satya parami, truthful, honesty, truthfulness, honesty. 8, Aditthana parami, that is determination, resolution. Number 9, Metta parami, loving kindness. And Upekha, also spelled Upekha parami, equanimity, serenity. 2 of the above paramis, Metta and Upekha, also comprise 2 of the 4 immeasurables, Brahmaviharas. Now, so that now, according to the Theravada Mahayana list of 6 paramis, dhyana is wisdom, and it is panya here. It's the number 4 here. And then, so anyone of you having an opinion of how these 10 paramitas are contained in the 6 paramitas in Mahayana tradition? So, oh, by the way, thank you, Francisca, for sharing that link to paramitas from encyclopedia. Any questions about why 6 paramitas become 10 in Theravada Buddhism? No, right? Okay, within Theravada in Pali text, teachings on paramitas can be found within the text of Pali canon, Jataka, Apadana, Buddhavamsa, Charya Pitaka and its commentaries. Note that the oldest part of the Sutta Pitaka, for example, Majjhima Nikaya, Digha Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, and Anguttara Nikaya, do not have any mention of the paramitas as a category, though they are all mentioned individually. Yeah, that's one point. When you refer to Digha Nikaya and Majjhima Nikaya, they are the earliest books of Theravada Buddhism. And then, so in those, according to those canonical books, you don't come up with the complete list of paramitas. But again, it is in the Khuddaka Nikaya. That is the last one. Khuddaka. Khuddaka Nikaya consists of few books. Chronicle of Buddhas. Vamsa means chronicle, an anthology, and an order. So according to Chronicle of Buddhas, and according to the Theravada canon, Buddhavamsa lists different Buddhas and their biographies. And then also, so the Buddhavamsa explain how different bodhisattvas practiced these 10 paramitas. Now then, the path of the bodhisattva. Once again, what does bodhisattva means? One who is attached to enlightenment. If as ordinary sattvas or sattas, we are attached to anything worldly, anything that gratifies us, anything that brings us joy. And then whereas here, anything that helps you to overcome your attachment, reduce your attachment, is called paramitas. And then at this point, I would like to say, I wonder whether I shared that. When I was a kid, when my mother explained to me one of the most emotional Jataka stories of Bodhisattva, that's called Vesantara Jataka. Vesantara Jataka. Vesantara Jataka is considered the final Jataka of the Bodhisattva before he was born into Tusita heaven, from where he would descend back to the earth to become Buddha Gautama one day. And that is the last human life he spent before getting reborn into Tusita heaven, from where he would descend back to the earth as the Buddha, in order to become Buddha Gautama. And according to Vesantara Jataka, my mother told me, according to that Jataka story, and then Bodhisattva would donate his 2 children, and then his everything he would donate, and then so that according and he would still go through so much. And then when we heard when my mother narrated the Jataka story, I was very sad. Then I told my mother, "Mom, I never want to go through that much suffering for the sake of enlightenment, because I wonder how a bodhisattva goes through so much trauma by sacrificing his own life and giving away his own wife, his children. And then why such burden? Why such trouble?" Then my mother told me, "Well, to you, it is a source of suffering, sadness, disappointment, trauma. But to a bodhisattva himself, it's not a source of trauma. It's a source of giving up. It's a source of giving up all his connections, worldly connections, and so that is the extreme. That's the highest form of dana. So that he could practice." And then she told me further that to bodhisattvas there is nothing called suffering or dukkha. Always there is what is called another opportunity to practice the bodhisattva path. To a worldly person like me, as in my mother's word, to a bodhisattva, to a worldly person like herself, and then me, her son, it could be really traumatic. And then so that to bodhisattva is not a source of trauma. It's a source of solace, because he's walking. He's a bodhisattva always tries to get rid of whatever the worldly connection that would serve as a building block to his progress. And so and that's one of the earliest or hardest lessons that I learned from my mother about the Bodhisattva path. And then but still, years later also, as a worldly person, I had difficulty digesting my mother's advice, how far I could digest that. So the paramitas are not that all the parts of the Sutta Pitaka, for example, Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, so that they don't mention the whole list of paramitas, so that it is the Khuddaka Nikaya, the Buddha Vamsa, the Chronicle of Buddhas, that lists the paramitas. In case you happen to answer a question about paramitas, and you could say, okay, there are 6 paramitas, According to general Mahayana Buddhism, there are 10 paramitas. According to the Buddha Vamsa of the Pali Canon, there are 10 paramitas, because in case you need to, cite the source, it is the Buddha Vamsa. So Bhikkhu Bodhi is an American Buddhist monk. I know him personally, and he is the one who has been translating the Pali Canon all over again into English. I mean, because he is correcting and he is editing the earliest English translations of the Pali Canon done by European scholars like Rhys Davids, Oldenburg, Winternis, and all German and British scholars. Under Pali Text Society London. So Big Bodhi, the American living in New York, and so that he has been real. He's the best known living world authority over the Pali Canon. So according to Bhikkhu Bodhi, Bhikkhu Bodhi suggests that in the earliest Buddhist text, which he identifies as the first 4 Nikayas, those seeking the extinction of suffering, Nibbana, the Pali word for it says Nirvana, pursued the Noble Eightfold Path. As time went on, a backstory was provided for the multi-life development of the Buddha. As a result, the 10 perfections were identified as part of the path for the Bodhisattva, Pali. Over subsequent centuries, the paramis were seen as being significant for aspirant to both Buddhahood and Arahantship. Thus, Bodhi 2005 summarizes. It should be noted that in established Theravada tradition, the paramis are not regarded as a discipline peculiar to candidates for Buddhahood alone, but as practices which must be fulfilled by aspirant to enlightenment and deliverance, whether as Buddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, or disciples. What distinguishes the Supreme Bodhisattva from other aspirants in the other 2 vehicles is the degree to which the paramis must be cultivated and the length of time they must be pursued. But the qualities themselves are universal requisites for the deliverance, meaning nirvana, salvation, which all must fulfill to at least a minimum degree to merit the fruits of the liberating path. Now, Bhikkhu Bodhi made this conclusion based on the overall Theravadin idea of Bodhisattva path. Now, according to general Mahayana, how Mahayanis look at Theravada Buddhism, but that's the Mahayanis view of Theravada Buddhism. As you know, probably, even though nowadays scholars don't use the word Hinayana Buddhism to identify Theravada Buddhism, because Theravada Buddhists find the term Hinayana offensive. But according to early Mahayana Buddhism, there's only one vehicle to nirvana, to deliverance. That is that's the Buddhahood. So it is by becoming an all-enlightened Buddha, you end the samsara one day. But according to Theravada Buddhism, so that there are three modes of enlightenment. There are 3 bhumis, as we say. 3 bhumis. Bhumis means grounds. Grounds of Samma Sambuddha, grounds of Pacceka Buddha, and grounds of Arahant. Now, it's because it is due to the fact that in Theravada Buddhism, most followers want to end the samsara much sooner by becoming as Arahants, and then early Mahayana Buddhism tend to look at Theravada Buddhism as the lesser vehicle Buddhism, or Hinayana. Hina is lesser. Yana is vehicle, lesser vehicle Buddhism, whereas Mahayana is the great vehicle Buddhism. And then, so, but again, Bhikkhu Bodhi suggests, based on overall Theravada in texts, and then, so that there are 3 types of Bodhisattvas that actually we did touch upon that. And then, so that there are 3 types of Bodhisattvas in Theravada Buddhism. And the first one is actually Samma Sambuddha Bodhisattvas, and then Pacceka Buddha Bodhisattvas, so Arahanta or Savaka Bodhisattvas. Now, Nirvana is one, according to the definition of Nirvana in Theravada Buddhism. Nirvana is one, but given the timeline that you need, so that you can achieve Nirvana soon. I think Bhikkhu Bodhi, I wonder if Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned that in here. Now it depends on the service capacity as well. Now, you don't simply like to become a disciple of the Buddha and then listen to his Dharma and practice and achieve Nirvana as a Savaka Bodhisattva. And you need to save more people. And so that you choose the hardest one, that is Samma Sambuddha. But still, it is because you have boundless compassion. You have, you feel like saving more people at the same time saving yourself. And so that you choose the most difficult bhumi or grounds of enlightenment. That is Samma Sambuddha bhumi. But you have a choice in Theravada Buddhism. Because you can choose to become, to end the samsara much sooner by becoming an arahant. So arahants are bodhisattvas according to Theravada. That's the clear distinction between bodhisattvas in early Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism. According to earliest Mahayana Buddhism, classical Mahayana Buddhist texts, unless you aspire to be the Samma Sambuddha one day, you are not a bodhisattva. That's the Mahayanist conclusion of bodhisattvas. Whereas when it comes to Theravada Buddhism, there are 3 bhumis, 3 modes of bodhisattva. There are 3 types of bodhisattvas. And then you want to be an arahant, you are still a bodhisattva. And that's the shortest. But still everyone, regardless of the bhumi that you choose for your enlightenment, so that, and you still need to complete all these 10 paramis. And the only difference is, again, it takes, you don't have to practice the 10. If you are an Arahanta Bodhisavaka Bodhisattva, you still need to practice all the 10, but not as much as a Samma Sambuddha does. A Pacceka Bodhisattva does not have to practice the 10 as much as Samma Sambuddha Bodhi, someone aspiring to be the Samma Sambuddha one day does. So, any questions so far?
Yeah, Kyle posted one in the chat.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Thank you. Now, what time are we taking a break? Now, 10:15? Sorry, 9.
If you want to do a short one in the middle, like a 10-15 minute break in the middle, and then we'll break for lunch around 10:15 for you, so that you can eat with the rest of your monastery.
Okay, now it's your time is 10 o'clock, right? So
right now it's 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, yeah, it's 9 o'clock your time, yeah. Okay, let's take a break at 9:30 or 9:45.
I mean, if we're gonna go that late, we might as well just
Yeah. Okay.
So it's up to you though. It's your class.
Okay. Let's take a break at how to say 9:30, 9:45. Okay. Thank you. Now, so now that's the Bhikkhu Bodhi's. Actually, Bhikkhu Bodhi's conclusion is it's widely used in the academia nowadays, because whenever you hear the term Bodhisattva, it's always a Samma Sambuddha. Even some Theravada Buddhists still don't know that there are 3 types of Bodhisattvas mentioned in Theravada Buddhism. But even though you can have some canonical reference to that. So and then it should be noticed that regard discipline. So that is a discipline. Yeah. Now we call this, according to Tibetan Buddhism, what is parami? A paramita is transcendental action, and then Bhikkhu Bodhi calls parami discipline, because I think he derives that word from Sikha Pali, or Shiksha in Sanskrit, meaning training. Now, according to Buddhism in general, you could be any type of bodhisattva. What you actually do is you train yourself, you discipline yourself along the path. So you train your mind, you train your words, you train your bodily action. You watch the 3 types of action. So in that sense, it's called discipline. So you discipline yourself, and that is the Bodhisattva path. So 2 of the above parami, what is that Theravada text? Next one is use of term parami and paramita. Let's look at the usage. While technically parami and paramita are both Pali, the Pali literature makes far greater reference to parami. We did mention that before, but now let's look at Bhikkhu Bodhi's statement. The word parami derives from parama, supreme, and he's just referring back to the same definite etymology that occurs in the Sanskrit Mahayana text as well, and thus suggests the eminence of the qualities which must be fulfilled by a bodhisattva in the long course of his spiritual development. But the cognate paramita, the word preferred by the Mahayana text and also used by Pali writers, is sometimes explained as parang, ita, gone to the beyond. Parang means ita, gone to the beyond. Thereby indicating the transcendental direction of these qualities. See, again, there's a slight difference in terminology, but it is the same word. It's always, paramitas are understood as something that brings you, that takes you, that crosses you over from this side to the other side. This side means the samsara, the other side being nirvana. And then it's not mentioned in this this encyclopedia, this article, that paramitas are divided into 3 levels again. So that general, so that upa and paramatta. So of the bodhisattva qualities in Pali Buddhism, they are divided into 3 levels: general parami, upa parami, paramatta parami. Now let's look at, for example, dana. Dana parami or dana paramita. Now, so Now you donate. You donate your personal belongings, your clothes, anything you have to someone else. That's also charity that we usually do. And then, so that is, but in so doing, remember, apologies for that, but remember, so punya, we happen to touch upon these two words in some of our previous lessons, punya and kusala. Actually, it's punya because I can't put the diacritics on my computer today. Punya is merit, kusala is skills. Now, so when you do the same, let's say you donate something to someone, you perform charity. And so that, when you expect something in return, even a thank you, and you still, and then always there's some expectation behind your charity, so that it is called punya or merit making. You make merit because there's a worldly expectation behind that action, charity action. Whereas you don't expect anything in return. That is basically, it is the same action of giving away, donating, but again, it becomes a paramita. Why? You don't have any worldly expectation in return as part of your donation or charity. Your only expectation is that you need to reduce your craving tanha further. And next time you should be able to give up more. You should be able to give away more. So that you further empty your mind of egocentrism, your belongings, and so that. So that's one difference between punya and kusala. Now, when it comes to practicing these paramitas, we never apply the term punya. Why? Punya means the same charity, same spiritual action, but there is some expectation out of that, some hopes, so that it is punya. It's you make merit. For example, okay, you feed someone, wish that you never be hungry again. So that's worldly expectation behind that. But so that is general punya. Whereas when it is kusala, it doesn't imply, it doesn't entail, it doesn't involve any worldly expectations. The only expectation, you should be able to sacrifice more, give away more, so that you can empty your mind more of your cravings. That's a kusala. So at that point, I just need to clarify that. So that's kusala. Now, so when it comes to two types, how to say, there are three types of paramis. First one is you just donate food, some items, some of your belongings maybe to someone else, to the needy people. And you expect, the only expectation is Bodhisattva path. You don't expect anything in return, not even a thank you from them. So that is the general parami, first type. So then again, and then you donate your limbs. It's, let's say you are an organ donor, like maybe sometimes printed on your driver's license or ID maybe. I got it printed on my driver's license. So you are an organ donor because you haven't donated any organs. But in case your death occurs quite unexpectedly, and then maybe one day, sooner or later, one day we have to go, and then so that you can, that's called the posthumous donation of organ donation. Or maybe you donate your organs when you are a living person. You donate a kidney, certain limbs, so that marrow. You could be a marrow donor, and so that is called upaparami. When you donate your belongings, so that is the first level of paramita. And when you donate something of your body, like organs, and that is called upaparami. That is the higher second level of paramitas. And paramattha again, the highest level, meaning you even sacrifice your life. You donate your entire life, so that your only expectation is enlightenment. So those are the 3 levels of, and when all these, excuse me, 10 paramitas are divided into 3, each one with these 3 levels, regular or normal, upa, and then paramattha, it becomes 30 paramitas. And then you practice these in different levels. So everything is divided into, and then the higher you progress along the Bodhisattva path, and then you may even try the second level of parami, and you try, and not at the same time. While you are practicing the first parami, that is dana or charity, alone on the first level, or probably you are practicing prajna paramita, or the wisdom paramita. Wisdom perfection may be on the second level already now. Second, so that, or maybe the third level. Any questions about, because it's clear, I think it's clear, you can clearly understand 3 levels of paramitas based on the dana parami, the first one. Do you have any questions about the 3 levels of any other paramitas? What are the boundaries, limits? But anyway, when it comes to midterm and final exams, in case you had to answer a question about paramitas, probably maybe it may not be a mainstream question. But actually you need some information about paramitas when you answer some questions about the Bodhisattva path, enlightenment and all that. So, and then, yes?
Bhante, Kyle asked if we can classify the 10 paramitas as such: generosity, morality, effort, concentration, wisdom.
Okay, let's go through that. We'll have time, right? Okay, the first one is generosity, right? Dana. And what is generosity again here? Giving of oneself. See the second meaning? What actually you become selfless, because when you give of yourself means you become selfless. But again, it has 3 levels. Thank you, Carl, for suggesting that. We're going to go through the list again anyway. So the dana. Now, let's say generosity. We understand dana in terms of these 3 words. Dana, and then adana, and upadana. Now, this is how we understand the first paramita clearly. Dana is generosity, or giving away, giving of oneself, giving of yourself, so that you reduce your egocentrism, and then so that that you reduce your expectations. So, and at that point, whosoever on the receiving end of your giving, your generosity, becomes very happy. When you see those being happy of as you give them, right? That happiness, and then so that observing their happiness across their face, you become happy. So you don't have to actualize, you don't have to grab the same stuff once again from somewhere and earn the same thing from somewhere else again, and you don't have to claim the ownership of something else, something that you have already given to someone in order to be happy. And then you derive lots of happiness observing the happy faces of those who are on the receiving end of your happiness, you are giving. so that you use the receiving party in order for yourself to be happy. And you don't need to grab it again. You don't have to earn the same thing once again to be happy. Now, when it comes to adana, adana means grabbing towards yourself and claiming or reclaiming the ownership. Now, a means towards yourself, meaning pulling towards yourself is adana. Pushing away from you is dana. Giving away from your side is dana. Is to pull yourself, pull towards yourself is adana. And then the third one is upadana, and that's made of upa, dana. Upa, dana. Means pulling towards yourself, grabbing, hugging. Upa means making part of yourself. Remember the upaparamita? Now, when you, on the second level of parami, you donate your own organs, limbs, the parts of your body. You donate body parts, that's upaparami. And then here, when you come back to upadana means, again, so that you grab something towards yourself, pull something towards yourself, and then you hug it to yourself, hug it to your chest, hug it to yourself, and then claim the ownership. Okay, this is mine. And then thereby what you do is upadana. You make that thing part of your selfhood, as though you are getting an organ transplanted onto your physical body. That's what upadana means. Upadana literally means clinging. So those are we understand dana in terms of dana parami, in terms of these three words: dana, adana, upadana. Giving away, pulling towards, hugging, pulling towards oneself, giving away from oneself, adana, pulling towards yourself, oneself, adana, pulling towards yourself and claiming the ownership, and in a way that you never let go of that again, and it's yours forever, it's mine forever. That is upadana, clinging. Now, and then we call this always dana parami is called so that and you counter your craving, and that's how you counter your cravings, because we always every moment, consciously or subconsciously, we grab something in our head, because the perception means grabbing. We always, even in our dreams, we expect certain things, and consciously or subconsciously, we always expect something. We get something, we grab, even negative things. Now, when someone stares at you, when someone says something bad about you, what do you do that? What you do is you absorb that, you imbibe those negative remarks into yourself and say, okay, you know what, so and so doesn't like me. And so we not only grab positive things, we also get all the bad things also. And that's why the Australian monk Ajahn Brahmans says, for the sake of living, we carry a truckload of junk, and we are driving a truck and it is full of junk. And Ajahn Brahm, the Australian monk, is very popular. He's a popular teacher, and then he derives that analogy from a canonical analogy, where Buddha says we have a golden vessel container which is full of human feces, and we carry it on our head. The container, the vessel is golden, made of gold, but what is contained in it, within it, is feces. And so that is one example that Buddha an analogy that the uses to explain the opposite action of dana parami, that is upadana. So, and then second one is sila, virtue. morality, proper conduct. What is the purpose of sila? Now, so the Vietnamese teacher, the well-known, renowned Buddhist teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, so that how he explains ordinary people is that ordinary people are sitting on burning charcoal and then complaining that they are getting burned. And then the canonical analogy that we come across is that we ordinary people are sitting on fire. We are sitting on fire, and at the same time we are burning inside as well with fire. Now, sila, the meaning of sila is coolant. Now, you put coolant into engine, like engine coolant. Seal literally means one that which makes something cool down. You know, that's what sila means. So that morality. When you are guilty, when you are a wrongdoer, you burn, and then so that your self-esteem is in trouble. And then people would, the society, the legal system, justice system would label you as a criminal, as an antisocial, as a lawbreaker. Now, and then you are feel guilty. Guilt is considered fire according to Buddhist psychology. And when you are guilty, when you have committed some wrong, committed some crime, and then at that point, you are guilty and you are burning. Whereas the purpose of sila is to have a guilt-free life. You avoid becoming guilty conscious. So the guilt-free life, the purpose of sila is to have a guilt-free life, so that we feel cool, we feel pacified. That's another word. Sila also means pacified. So with these moral principles, we pacify our character, like Pacific Ocean. This is calm. So that calm, the mental state of calm is achieved. You are calm within, socially and within, when you are not guilty, when you are not a wrongdoer, when you haven't any cause, any harm to someone else, when you are not creating unwholesome feelings, harmful feelings even towards yourself. And that is the purpose of that is called sila paramitas. You are free from guilt. And so that is why those who practice sila parami, and so that they are relatively much more peaceful than others. But once again, if your purpose is, because we come across lots of stories in Buddhism that some people observed precepts. At this point, sila means observing precepts. You understand sila in terms of precepts. People observe precepts so that in order to get reborn into heaven, or to come back to humanity, or probably to enjoy more worldly comfort. But at that point, again, it's okay to have those feelings, even though it's not according to the mainstream. If in the eyes of someone aspiring to be a Bodhisattva, aspiring to be the Buddha one day, hence a Bodhisattva, practicing sila in order to get a heavenly birth is not acceptable. But let those who would like to stick to such worldly expectations, but that is purely punya. But when you practice sila, once again, just like you practice dana, the purpose of sila is not to come back not to come back in heavenly form or to reacquire human form, but simply to walk away from the samsara. And that's the purpose of sila. And you say to yourself, so that whenever I am guilty, I burn. And then so that out of craving, I may cause harm to someone. I may be jealous of someone, but again, it's the same jealousy that lands me in fire and then leaving me burn, probably for life. And so I should not do that. So that I should keep myself guilt-free, so that I should be how to say, peaceful among those who are panicking like in fire, because their life is on fire. That's why they get panicked. Whereas it doesn't happen to me, because why? I don't create any harm to anyone else, even to myself, because of sila. In sila, sila also helps you appreciate yourself. Now, you don't curse yourself, you don't put the blame on yourself for failing to achieve certain things. Now, Bodhisattvas never curse themselves, and they don't curse themselves. They don't live in denial, so that they not only don't have egocentrism, they also appreciate themselves being down to earth and being able to take care of themselves to be content. That is Sila Parami. And then let's discuss the rest after the 15-minute break. See you in 15 minutes.
Great, thank you.
I think everyone is back.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so number 3, Nekkhamma Parami, that's renunciation. Now, when it comes to renunciation, one fine example for renunciation is the way monastics are supposed to live their life. Now, monastics are supposed to have, 4 basic requisites, like clothing, like robes, and then food, medicine, and dwelling place or monastery. Now, those are the 4 basic necessities of a monastic. Now, and then so that the Buddha approved those 4 basic requisites for monastics, because even though they walk the path they work on their enlightenment, as living in the society as worldly beings, and they all need to survive. They need to survive. And that's why Buddha recommended these 4 requisites for monastics. Now, when it comes to Nekkhamma Parami, or Naishkramya, or renunciation, now the purpose of what does Nekkhamma Parami means is that so that you let go of unnecessary expectations first. Now, if I ask you to list your expectations, your ambitions, your targets, your dreams in your life, and of course, you can come up with them in abundance. But and then it is worldly beings are such. Once again, sattva or sattva is such that he or she cannot think about existence, think about living, think about happiness, satisfaction, without belongings, without continually acquiring things, claiming the ownership of things. And once again, that is the typical nature of us beings, sattvas. Now, Bodhisattva is again different. As we discussed earlier, a Bodhi is enlightenment. Enlightenment is achieved not by acquiring things, not by running after things, but letting go of things. But and then renunciation here means letting go. what you first let go of is your unnecessary expectations. Now, when it comes to expectations, people find it extremely difficult to see the distinction, the difference between necessary expectations and unnecessary expectation. However unimportant, however small an expectation is, you find it necessary. And there's no limit to expectations. There are expectations in abundance. So, when in practicing parami number 3, Nekkhamma parami, or the parami of renunciation, for the first thing you do is you limit your expectations. Limit expectations in a way that you only have few for your survival. So that's called and then so that's why the 4 basic requisites of a monastic, whether it's Theravada or Mahayana, Vajrayana, anyone, Buddhist monasticism. So the Buddhist monastic behavior is based on, monastic requisites are based on this third one, basic or limited expectations. And then a monk or a nun get in the street in Asia and travels from house to house and standing in front of, at the front gate, at the front door, waiting for people to offer them some food, some requisites. And so that there are days that they don't get anything to eat. At that point, are they supposed to be sad? No. Why? Sadness that occurs out of the fact that they never got pindapata or the food from the people, they have to let go of that sadness as well. So that's when it comes to different levels of renunciation. First, on the regular level, just like we talk about ordinary level of dana parami, and then upper level of parami, dana parami, and then paramatta level of dana parami, when it comes to seal also, and then nekkhamma also, there are 3 levels. On the first level of parami, you let go of too many expectations that are too many. So when you have expectations that are too many, and you let go of those expectations, and so that and then you only choose some limited expectations, just like those 4 things, like chivara or robes, if in the case of monastic, and then so the clothing, food, dwelling place, and medicine. Those are the 4 basic necessities. And then so that as long as you have those 4 basic necessities, and then you are happy, you are easily satisfied. And then if you expect something, it is nothing other than those 4 things that you expect. And then so then what if you don't even get those basic necessities satisfied? And at that point, and then you don't get disappointed, you don't become sad, you don't become frustrated, and you let go of that sadness as well, you let go of that despair as well, you let go of that disappointment as well. At that point, it is the nekkhamma upaparami, that is the third parami, number 1 on the second level, upper level. Upper again, part of yourself, and then emotions are part of yourself. Sadness is a mental condition, despair is a mental condition, depression is a mental condition. So they are upa, means they are part of yourself, and then you let go of them as well. And you let go of what brings you craving, what enhances your craving, and you also let go of disappointment out of your failure to achieve certain things. And that is the parami upa level, or the second level. And what about nekkhamma on the third level? Even if you lose your entire life and you are not sad, And that is you can even let go of your life, your entire life. And at that point, you see the fine line between Dana Parami, Dana Paramatta and Nekkhamma Paramatta. Dana and Nekkhamma on their third level, highest level. And on the third or highest level of Dana Parami, you sacrifice your own life to feed someone, to give something happiness, someone happiness. And when it comes to Nekkhamma on its third level, and you may happen to lose your life, not sacrifice actually. You didn't give it, but you happen to lose your life. Or something life-threatening can happen to you. And maybe something can take your life away. And as you are dying, you are not worried. Why? You let go of your life. That's called the third level of parami, nekkhamma, renunciation. And once again, renunciation is done in 3 levels again, right? So that first you let go of your unnecessary expectations, and then you only have few expectations for survival. And in your effort to survive, also you may not achieve, you may not even be able to satisfy your basic necessities, have your basic necessities. At that point, that would create that would land you in despair, disappointment, a sense of unfulfillment, etc., etc. And they also are not worried, and you let go of that worry as well. Worry due to your failure to have basic necessities satisfied. And then number 4 is panya. Again, it's also practiced in 3 levels. Ordinary level of prajna, wisdom parami, upper level, and the paramatta level. Now, as you know, once again, I think we have defined that term many times, per plus nya, right? Okay, today I can pull that out with nya. Per plus nya, per plus nya. Nya, to know, knowing. Per, as you know, higher knowing, meaning unbiased wisdom, unbiased knowledge. As we discussed earlier in many times, when your knowledge, you never happen to become a slave. You never happen to become a slave to your own knowledge. And then so that is wisdom. And you are not biased towards your knowledge. If you are a scientific, because as scientists are necessarily biased towards their own scientific knowledge. Spiritual people or priests or monks or clergy is necessarily biased towards their, religious knowledge. And then a scientist does not reject his scientific knowledge. A spiritual person or a religious person does not reject does not counter his own religious knowledge. Why? Because whatever the knowledge, whatever the area that you are specialized in, you adhere to that knowledge. You uphold that knowledge. You are part, and then you promote that knowledge. But that is simply jnana, knowing, normal jnana. When it comes to per plus jnana, panya, prajna, it is unbiased knowledge. You are not a slave to what you know. So that you are open, you are always open-minded, and you never become defensive. When you practice the third parami, on the regular level, on the first level of prajna parami, what you do is so that you simply tell yourself, okay, I'm not biased towards my own, I'm not biased towards what I know. And that's how you practice the first first level of prajna. And then so that in case you are now practicing Bodhisattva path, at the same time someone else countering your knowledge, someone is talking against what you know, and at that point, and then and you become restless, And that restlessness confirms that you are not having prajna. You are not having unbiased knowledge. You are restless because you feel like defensive, because you don't like the other person's ideas, opinions, and as a result, you are defending your knowledge. When you defend your knowledge, it is simply jnana or knowledge. It's not prajna. No matter how critical others are of your knowledge, of what you know, and then you don't feel the heat of that. You don't feel restless. You don't feel defensive. So that it is, and then you test yourself for your knowledge. And then when someone, for example, let's say you say to someone, okay, I have only one expectation, that is nirvana or salvation. And then someone else, and then we are saying that to someone, and that someone is countering your idea by saying, I don't think there is something called nirvana. I don't believe in salvation. There is nothing called. I think you are mistaken. When they say that to you, and then you can simply laugh that off. You can simply smile and let go of that critic, those ideas, and you don't feel the heat, and you don't feel offended. You don't feel like being offended, and at that point, and then you can very easily, you don't take it personally, and you can just let go of that. And no matter how harsh the other person is of or towards your knowledge, and so that, and then you simply make up your mind by telling yourself, okay, I respect your idea, but anyway, this is what I want. And then at that point, that is the basic level of prajna parami. You never become defensive. If you do become defensive, you are not practicing prajna. You are simply defending yourself for the sake of the knowledge that you have. You, at that point, you are a slave to your own knowledge. And that's when Buddha rejected that idea too. When Buddha was asked whether he had a teacher, he said, I don't have a teacher. And then, so that you must be some kind of teacher. And Buddha said, okay, I consider what I know as my teacher. See, at that point, Buddha put himself in a position lower, much lower than what he knew. So, and he never wanted to outshine himself. He never wanted to outshine himself, outsmart himself, outsmart others, outsmart himself. Based on the knowledge that he had, so that he had, if I have a teacher, it is what I know. And then at that point, he rejected to have a teacher actually. And then and at the same time also, when people some countered the Buddha's knowledge, Buddha never got angry. Anyway, he's enlightened. Enlightened people don't get angry, but he never felt restless when people rejected to accept the Buddha's position as the Buddha, his knowledge. And so that is the first level of prajna. When it comes to second upper level of prajna, panya parami, the perfection. So that when you happen to, compare, when you happen to compare and contrast, you have to compare the knowledge that you have already acquired and with the knowledge you are now acquiring, or somebody else's knowledge. And then you never happen to say, even if the knowledge that you already know is much higher than the knowledge of someone else or someone else's knowledge, at that point, you don't become proud of what you know. Why? Because you don't let the egocentrism have a role play in come and play. And so that in comparing your knowledge with someone else's knowledge, you don't become egoistic. You don't say that, okay, what I know is much higher than others do, and you don't let that happen. So that's when you practice. That's how you practice because once acquired, knowledge becomes part of yourself. That is called upper level. On the upper level, you don't contrast your knowledge with that with someone else's knowledge, and having even though you know that your knowledge is better or pure, and there are some problem with the knowledge of the other party, and then you simply don't be egoistic, and you don't simply say, okay, my knowledge is correct, my knowledge is higher. Instead, you will continue to listen to the other party, and perhaps you can guide the other party through by asking the other party to explain why he believes so. And you can also let the other party question what you already know. Thereby, you can make sure that there's no place for egocentrism within. And that's the second level. Now, on the highest level of prajna parami, highest level, even if someone totally counters what you know, what your knowledge, and you don't feel offended at all. So it happens to Buddha also. And sometimes in one fine example of Buddha's understanding, or Buddha's prajna parami, was that, remember that story we shared. Once one hot-tempered Brahmin came to the Buddha, and he started scolding him for no reason. And he started talking to Buddha in filth. And Buddha was just silent. He first listened to him in silence. And then when the Brahmin stopped talking, yelling, screaming, scolding, and Buddha asked him, what if he takes an expensive gift to one of his friends for a celebration, and then that friend refuses his gift, and Buddha asking, okay, my friend, in case your friend rejects your gift, will you trash it? Will you discard it? And then the Brahmin said, what are you saying? It is my money. It is such an expensive gift. In case my friend doesn't want it, then I will take it back. I'll take it back home because it's mine. And then Buddha says, so far you insulted me, and then so far you have offered me the best probably you could do, and then I don't need your gift. Take it back. You take it back because that you deserve that. It's not mine, it's yours. Say, and Buddha was humorous, and he could simply reject the Brahmin's scolding, his filthy words, which Buddha called the gift, which the Brahmin had, which was the best that the Brahmin could offer the Buddha. Now that's called prajna, wisdom, and Buddha never felt offended at all, even if that man completely offended and insulted the Buddha. He completely downgraded the Buddha's position as the Buddha, and there's nothing called Buddha. There's no enlightenment. There are no enlightened beings. You are fake. You are not the Buddha, and all that. And at that point, Buddha didn't take it personally at all. That's number 4. That is prajna parami. Number 5 is virya. It's also pronounced as virya parami. Energy, diligence, vigor, effort. Now, virya parami is a little bit more difficult to explain. Now, those who are practicing virya, so that they avoid putting the blame on one particular fundamental teaching that you come across in Buddhism. And we did mention that karma, right? There are virya, so that when it comes to virya, it is 4-fold, I guess. And you know that alone when you studied the Noble Eightfold Path, remember samma vayama, so that right effort, and then that corresponds to parami number 5 here, virya. So this is about, for virya at this point is for your moral purity. that you practice. Moral purity, your moral character. That's all about your virya is all about your moral character, your ethical behavior. Now, and it is explained in psychological terms. Now, and then so that you make effort, you prevent you prevent unwholesome feelings arising in your mind, and then you remove unwholesome feelings that have arisen in your mind, and then you make new wholesome feelings arise in your mind, and you cultivate, develop, enhance wholesome feelings that have already arisen in your mind. So that is called the right effort. Samma Vayama, according to the Noble Eightfold Path. It is virya, right effort, or virya parami, according to the list here. Now, it is all about your moral purity. This virya parami is moral purity. And then you try your best to, first what you do is how to practice the basic level of virya parami. Is that first you are mindful of your wordings, the words that you speak, and you don't speak words that are detrimental to someone else, that are harmful to your character and to someone else. You don't use offensive words, and you only speak kind words. That is how you practice virya parami on the first level, on the verbal level. And then so that you never use your physical body to do any harm to anyone else, not even to yourself. You don't cut yourself, and then you don't hit anyone. You don't cut yourself, you don't hit yourself, you don't cut anyone else, you don't hit anyone else, and you don't do any physical harm to anyone else with your physical body. So that is the second level. And when it comes to the third level and then you don't even think impure, unethical thoughts or feelings, and you are honest and pure. That is the hardest level, the highest level of virya, starting from verbal, then physical, and then mental. That's number 5, virya. So, and let's look at number 6, Kunti. Now, any questions so far, my friends? Probably about virya, because I didn't explain virya that much. All right. Okay. Kunti. Kunti is in Sanskrit. Text, it's mentioned as Kshanti. Kshanti is patience, tolerance, forbearance, acceptance, endurance. Now, Kunti. So one fine example is when Bodhisattva was once born as a king cobra, huge snake, and because of its samsaric habit, and he was very different than other snakes, and then children playing around approach him in a jungle. And so that even though first the children were scared of the size of the cobra, the snake, and then so that the snake didn't care, and so that even though the children felt that the snake was dangerous and also its size, it might attack, but it was not moving. And then later on they started torturing it, but it didn't care. And even even after they captured the cobra and they were taking it to the village, and then so that the cobra wouldn't bite, do anything, didn't do any harm to. So that is called Kunti. Now, that is one example. Now, when it comes to the practice of Kunti Parami as human beings. Now, on the ordinary level, on the first level of Kunti Parami, what we do is now, so that when people say negative things about you, when they talk bad about you, and then you don't feel offended. And then on the first level. On the second level, they hit you. They hit you, they cut you, but still you don't get angry. You are patient. You have absolute patience. You tolerate that. Your patience is such that you don't even feel angry, and let alone attack others who torture you. You are not others who are not torturing you, and then so you don't feel. And then so that is, and then you on the second, that's the upper level. Others torture you physically, first verbally, and then so that you are still patient. That's the first level, regular ordinary level. On the second level, they physically torture you, and then they harm your physical body, and still you have kindness, and you still tolerate that, you forbear that, you accept that, you endure all that torture. And then on the third level, Paramatta level, and they cut your limbs off. They amputate you. They cut your limbs off, your hands and feet, and then so that again, and you tolerate that. Your patience is such that you bear up the pain, and you are not angry with your enemies, those who are cutting your limbs off. And then finally, and they would deliver the final blow onto your head or onto your heart, or maybe they will pierce a sharp weapon through your heart, or maybe through your head. And so that still, and taking your last breath, and you don't feel angry. You tolerate that. Your patience is such that you are still kind to them, and you accept the reality, and you endure that, and you don't feel angry, resentful at all. At that point, what happens? You are practicing number 6 on the highest level or the Paramatta level. First, you start tolerating verbal abuse, verbal attacks. Then you tolerate. Then you tolerate physical attacks, so that the bodily harm, attack to your physical body. Then you accept. Then you tolerate yourself losing your limbs, yourself getting cut into pieces by someone, some criminals, opponents, and you tolerate that as well. At that point, you are practicing that on the highest or the Paramatta level. And number 7, Satya Parami, truthfulness, honesty. Remember, any Bodhisattva, anyone embarking upon a journey towards Nirvana is called Satya Gavesi, right? Seeker after truth, okay, truth seeker, Satya. Now, what is Satya Parami? It is about verbal truth. It's about expression of truth, verbal expression of truth, and then so the thinking truth, and also acting truthfully. 3 ways. Now, for example, Satya. Let's look at for one example is, you promise someone that you will never disclose a secret that someone has shared with you, and then you promised, and then so that someone comes to you and asks to disclose the truth that you know, the secret that you know, and then you don't disclose that. Why? You promise someone to safeguard that. In case you disclose that, the other party would be in trouble. the other party might even lose his life. And then so that you verbally, you don't discuss that verbally. They ask you to speak and you don't speak. And at that point, and that is when, and then what happens on the second level, upper level, they ask you to at least to use your, how to say, gestures, not verbally, with your gestures also. Just give them a hint at what sort of secret that you are hiding, and you don't disclose that either. And then again, and they start torturing you. And even if they torture you to, in order to get you express or disclose that secret, and you still don't do that, and then you close your eyes and say to yourself, even if I lose my life, I'm not going to disclose that, because I promised someone I'm not going to break it. Otherwise, I would have lied. And then also, there's a better way to put that is, now you are a bodhisattva and you are practicing such a parami. And then you happen to commit some mistakes. And then so that someone else is now asking whether you made that mistake, and you never lie and say, you accept, yes, I did make that mistake. And you never lie, so that you understand, you better understand the practice of such a parami in terms of telling lies. However terrible the harm, you may encounter, you may end up in disaster as a result of your being truthful. But for the sake of your enlightenment as a bodhisattva, no matter how terrible, how disastrous, how terrible the harm is going to be, harm to yourself is going to be, and you are not hesitant to so that you are not hesitant to so disclose that, so that you do disclose that, because what matters is the truth. And even if you lose your position, even if others label you as like a criminal, but you are being truthful, so that you don't hide the mistake that you have made. So that is the seventh one. Eighth one is, so I told Corey yesterday that I will end the session at 11:15 in my time, because the lunch time here, because I'm 1 hour ahead. But I will just keep until, I will do that until 11:30, right? So that is 11:21. Next one, aditthana, parami, determination, resolution. Now, how do that? Because this aditthana parami is more like a background one, because you need aditthana parami, or this parami of determination or resolution, to reinforce yourself, to reinforce your bodhisattva path. Whenever you feel like enervated, like losing your focus along the bodhisattva path, and from time to time, you need to, you need to enhance, you need to reinforce, strengthen your bodhisattva path. And this is called aditthana. So that's one of aditthana parami is such that from time to time in meditation, when you are meditating or you are not meditating, you remind yourself that you are a bodhisattva. And then you identify your failures. And then you fix them. You fix those failures. And that is the purpose of aditthana parami. And then aditthana parami, you most of the time, whenever you remind yourself on a regular basis that you are a bodhisattva. And then you test every time you feel, in trying, let's say, for example, in practicing one or some of the paramitas that we have already discussed, that's on before this one, like for example, number 1, parami number 1, dana, giving of oneself, giving of yourself. And then let's say you have your parami, the first parami, the practice of the first parami has been such that you never expected anything. But this time, this morning, when you practice dana parami, you happen to think about why people didn't look at and they just walked away with whatever you donated them. And in case you happen to say why they didn't look at me, meaning subconsciously you expected some thank you from them, some thanks. So actually it is considered a failure because you expected something. So that's why you thought why they didn't look at you. And they don't even look at you. They accepted your donation, they just walked away. And then they didn't treated you with a smile, even though you are not supposed to. In case for the moment you think why, at that point, actually you get your dana parami kind of blemished. And at that point you take a deeper breath and say to, oh, I think I made a mistake by expecting a thank you from them. So that I should not let that happen once again. And you take a deep breath and strengthen your aditthana. I would not expect anything in return from others, even if I sacrifice my own physical body. Until I achieve my goal, I will never ever expect anything in return. I will never let my fail once again. And then you, on a continual basis, you remember that. But at this point, it's very, how to say, come up with a fine line between three levels of aditthana. For example, it is simply verbal. You don't expect anything. If you expect anything verbally from others, and then small things, and then even if you lose your own life, and then you never give up on your bodhisattva path, and that is the highest level of aditthana. Even if you have to sacrifice your own life, you make other sacrifices like and based on other sacrifices, it could be on the regular level of aditthana parami, it could be the upper level, but clearly, even if it costs your own life for the sake of bodhisattva path, and it does cost your life, you have to pay with your life, and then but still you are happy. When you are happy, okay, even if I'm losing my life, even if I have to give up everything, then so I want to achieve my goal, and that's called aditthana parami on the highest level. And number 9 is metta, loving kindness. So it is a form of meditation, as you know. Metta is again unconditional love. Now, love is, when it comes to bodhisattva path, metta so has to be unconditional, not conditional. Now, when you are in a relationship and for example, let's say your partner, so that even if you can be part of a couple and still a bodhisattva, just like Siddhartha and Yasodhara did, and then so that you take care of the other party, and the other party doesn't love you enough. At that point, you are not sad. If you become sad, meaning your love towards the other party is conditional. It has to be, in order for metta to be a parami, it has to be unconditional, because you have to let go of yourself in loving others, in helping others. That's metta parami. No matter how harmful, even if someone else has, you can better understand that one is kind of interrelated to parami number 6, Kunti parami, parami of tolerance, forbearance, acceptance, endurance, and then so that so you are a bodhisattva, and someone is now cutting your limbs off, someone is killing you slowly, and then so that you are getting murdered by someone, and then even as you are breathing your last breath, not for a moment do you feel angry, so that you are absolutely compassionate towards the party who is now killing you, murdering you. So so that is the highest way. And first someone attacks you verbally and you don't take it personally, and so that is the first level of parami, regular level of parami, metta. And then someone's say things or do things in a way that you have to mentally, emotionally suffer for a long term, like it leaves some mental scars on your psyche, and so it is way more harmful than verbal attacks from someone. And on the second level of metta, and then even though it causes long-term emotional problems to you socially, and then you still are not angry, you are not hateful to the party who has done that. So that is the second level of metta parami, mentally, emotionally. Third level of is, as I said, someone cuts your limbs off, someone tortures you physically, someone so that kills you, and even as you are being killed, murdered by that party, and you don't have an iota of anger, an iota of hate, a modicum of hate, anger towards the party who is killing you now, means that you have absolute metta, kindness to that person. That's called the metta parami, number 9. And number 10 is upekha, also spelled upekha parami, equanimity. This is also like how to say number 8 aditthana. This is also more like a feeder parami, and this helps you to overall keep yourself on the bodhisattva track, on the path. But as you know, upa plus ikka. Upa is close to, ikka means to see, take a closer look. And when you practice upekha parami, you don't run away from trouble. You don't try to escape troublesome surroundings. No matter how troublesome the situation is, you don't run away from that one. You face it and keep your balance. That is called upekha parami. And it has 3 levels again. On the verbal, normal level, and then so that you happen to live with the group or a people who oftentimes offends you. At that point, you tolerate that. And then to you, at that point, what you say to yourself is, I don't see, I am equally, to me, I have an equal attitude towards my friends and my opponents. And then so that whatever the friendship that you offer to your friends, you feel friendly the same way towards your opponents as well, verbally and also mentally. And then even if you happen to lose your own life, so that because of your equanimity, by the way, upekha again is equanimity, and you still say that, okay, even if I lose my life, I will practice equanimity. Any questions, my friend? It's 11:32.